name is Dorothy Woods Ruoff, and my family has lived in the Silk Stocking neighborhood since 1937. As a child, it seemed to me that I knew who lived in which house, what the fathers did for a living, and which children would come out in the evenings to play. Our neighborhood name came from the early 1900 belief that if you could afford a home in the area at a cost of $3,000, you could buy your wife silk stockings. Many of the houses were built in 1919 and to this day still look the same as they did then. The area covers homes in the 200 and 300 blocks of Washington Street and Colorado Street, and 2 houses on Erie Street. Also, Washington Street from Chandler Boulevard to Erie Street still has the only concrete slab roadway left in the city. This surface was laid in 1920. Silk stocking was listed on the National Register of Historic Places on August 29, 2011. Many of the early residents of Silk Stocking were people who helped shape Chandler. The minimal traditional ranch-style house built in 1946 at 399 North Washington Street was the home of Jackson and Barbara Bogle, where they raised their family. Mrs. Bogle was a member of a number of organizations which worked hard to make Chandler a better city. Mr. Bogle was manager of Bogle Farms, which at one time was the largest cattle feeding operation in the area. He also owned Pecos Valley Alfalfa Mill, helping to make Chandler the largest alfalfa district in the U.S. in the 1950s. Close to the time of the home's construction, the Chandler irrigation ditch was enclosed and it became Erie Street. Up until then, the area north of the ditch was all farmland between Chandler and Mesa. So for us growing up here, that was the end of town. Another craftsman bungalow-style house was built in 1919 at 245 North Washington Street for Mr. and Mrs. Lewis Henry. In 1937, this property became the home of Joe H. and Alice Woods. This residence front addition was designed by local architect Glenn McCullum and added in 1949, which changed the style to a traditional ranch. Mr. and Mrs. Woods owned and operated the Woods Theaters, the Rowena on Boston Street downtown, and the Parkway on the Plaza. They also owned the Mustang Drive-In, which sat on the southeast corner of Ray Road and Arizona Avenue. Upon the death of Mrs. Woods in 1998, this house became the residence of my husband and I, Mr. and Mrs. Philip Ruoff. To my knowledge, there's only one other home occupied by the same family for over 85 years, the Basha Serrano House. The home at 332 North Washington Street was built in 1920 in the minimal traditional style for Mr. and Mrs. Najib Basha, who raised their large family of 2 sons and 6 daughters in this lovely house. Mr. and Mrs. Basha started with a dry goods store in downtown Chandler, which over time grew into a statewide chain of grocery stores. As of May 2010, There were over 165 stores serving every county in Arizona, as well as parts of California and New Mexico. The Basha family occupied this house until 1969, when it was sold to Ernie and Eva Serrano. Eva was a granddaughter of Mr. and Mrs. Basha. This is the only house on the street which has been occupied by the same family since it was built nearly 100 years ago. The home at 218 North Washington Street was built by Bishop Henry Peterson in 1919 in the bungalow craftsman style. At the time, it was the most expensive house to be built in Chandler at the cost of $10,000. When I was growing up, it was owned by Mr. and Mrs. Arthur Price, who lived there from 1928 through 1951 while raising their 3 children, Arthur Jr., Harriet, and Suzanne. Mr. Price was the first city attorney, serving as Dr. H.A. Chandler's lawyer, and was Chandler's first justice of the peace. His wife, Louise, was Dr. Chandler's niece. His legal experience kept him involved in the drafting of Chandler's Constitution and bylaws. The Price family also owned 350 acres of land in Chandler and grew cotton and alfalfa. These stories are just a small example of the homes and families that lived and worked and played in the Silk Stocking neighborhood. My memories of Washington Street are wonderful. We would play up and down the street and spend a lot of time catching tadpoles out of the irrigation ditch, playing hide and seek and capture the flag, and generally having a good time. I remember that once a month during the war years, we had a Saturday night blackout. This meant that from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., we had to turn off all inside and outside lights as a precaution against enemy planes flying over and dropping bombs. On those Saturdays, we would all sit in our front yards and visit back and forth with the neighbors.